Geez, technology. It's supposed to be really easy. Happy Lunar Year, or some would say Happy Chinese New Year. New Year. Welcome to our digital broadcast on WIN TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, and I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of this week's issue of the Washington Informer. You know, always I didn't get a chance to do it last week, but here we are this week, and of course, this is our issue, and we are so glad to have been able to not only sponsor but participate in this last on Monday's Martin Luther King holiday. And you'll see we also did our annual special issue. If I can get it into the fit in the camera, I think Sherry's going to show that. But we have that, some highlights actually from the week. I think DC and Maryland, the whole DC and Maryland. Don't know much about what happened in Virginia, but DC and Maryland did a lot to step up and really get out and celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King with so many events, including not only ribbon wreath layings and of our MLK parade here, but a vast, unbelievable number of community service projects all over the area. So I want to commend anybody that did anything to acknowledge and commemorate the life and legacy of Dr. King in some way this week. You know, this is a national holiday that so many of us fought for, and those who are not here fought for, and want to continue to keep, raise up and make sure that it is a special day in this country. And, we have a lot of holidays that we just sort of ignore. We use them as shopping days or eating days or whatever the case is. But this is a day on and not a day off, and a day where people are actually looking for ways to give back to our communities and to support those who need it, and to just talk about what Dr. King's life meant to us, to demonstrate it in so many ways. So I want to give you a hand clap if you're one of those. And if you were able to make it out to the parade, I think it was our biggest ever in 16 years. It was unbelievably a wonderful event. So pick up a copy of the Washington Informer if you can this week. And who knows, you might even see yourself in there. And like I said, you can read the digital edition online at WashingtonInformer.com. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit share so your followers can see the broadcast. And if you're watching on Twitter, be sure to follow us so we can follow you back. And please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. That's one word, Washington Informer TV. And we would certainly appreciate that. So many of one of our guests talked earlier off air about advertisers. And of course, this show doesn't really do advertising, but we do sponsorships. And so, folks are always looking to see who's watching so that they can determine whether this is a good place to spend a few dollars. And actually, we know it's a good place because we have one of the best audiences in the world, and Black folks need to be, we need to reach out to our community because, we always say you get that piece of mail that comes to your house and it has occupant, or what is it, Sherry? You might have occupant or something. That's the mail we kind of toss. But if it has our name on it, we generally open that piece of mail. So if an advertiser or sponsor advertises or sponsors on this program, we know they want you, our audience, to consume their products or participate in the service that they have to offer. So having said that, like I said, if you subscribe or follow us, that makes a big difference to us, and we certainly do appreciate your support. We have an interesting show today, as we always try to do. We're going to be talking about an expungement clinic that's coming up here in the district, and our guests are going to be District of Columbia Shadow Senator Dr. Adoye Awolewa. I know I just messed up his name, but I know Adoya is going to correct me when he gets on. But he is going to be with us, as well as the 7th District Metropolitan Police Department Citizen Advisory Council President. Whew, that's a mouthful for a title. But we know him as Anthony Muhammad. So we're looking forward to having the two of them on to really talk about this expungement clinic that's coming up. We also are excited that Anika Hobbs, who is the owner of Nubian Hueman, that we just lost over here in DC in Ward 8, but we didn't lose a business, and that's what's so important. She's going to talk to us about how Black-owned businesses can have staying power. And so I'm looking forward to that conversation, as well as Tim Gordon, who is joining us from Utah. He's out there attending the Sundance Film Festival, but he's going to talk to us about the 23rd Annual Black Reel Awards, which is going to take place here in Washington, D.C., and some of those honorees. And so we're looking forward to, I think, an informative and exciting show as usual. Until then, let's just go to Curtis Knowles, who will bring us this week's news broadcast.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. January 3rd saw Keenan Anderson, a 10th grade English and language arts instructor at Digital Pioneers Academy, died in a Los Angeles hospital hours after officers with the LAPD repeatedly shocked him with a taser gun and arrested him at the scene of a car accident. At the time of his death, Anderson had been visiting family in Los Angeles during winter break. Footage from an officer's camera showed the officer repeatedly asking Anderson to comply. Anderson could be heard yelling, saying, quote, "They're trying to George Floyd me." Since Anderson's death, many people have taken to social media in demand of answers and accountability. Patricia Collars, co-founder of Black Lives Matter and Anderson's cousin, was counted among those who quickly designated the incident as a murder. SpaceX fired a new GPS satellite into orbit on behalf of the U.S. military on Wednesday, continuing an effort to bolster the constellation of global positioning and navigation satellites that underpin smartphone apps, wartime operations, and more. The GPS satellite launched aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The mission carried the sixth spacecraft into a new generation of GPS satellites called GPS-3. The next generation GPS-3 satellites, built by Lockheed Martin, will modernize their system of satellites currently in orbit. Lockheed Martin commented saying, quote, "Space has become a much more contested environment with much more competitive adversaries. Our warfighters need enhanced capabilities to take on evolving threats, and the need to return to the focus of GPS as a warfighting system has never been clearer." The only HIV vaccine in a late-stage trial has failed, researchers announced Wednesday, dealing a significant blow to the effort to control the global HIV epidemic and adding to a decades-long roster of failed attempts. Known as Mosaico, the trial was the product of a public/private partnership, including the U.S. government and the pharmaceutical giant Janssen. It was run out of 8 nations in Europe and the Americas, including the U.S., starting in 2019. Researchers enrolled nearly 39,000 men who have sex with men and transgender people, all deemed at substantial risk of HIV. Dr. Anthony Fauci commented on the findings saying, quote, "It's obviously disappointing." However, he also said that there is, quote, "a lot of other approaches."
All right, thank you very much, Curtis. And so now we're going to turn to our guest, and we're going to bring on Representative Owalewa, who is the non-voting representative for the District of Columbia. And I just battered your name, and I so apologize, Oye. See, I know you as Oye, but
yes,
Sherry threw me a curve when he pronounce it for me properly, so that I make sure I do it properly.
No, you were almost there. My name is Oye Owalewa. My parents were Nigerian. I was born here in the United States, so I've been able to kind of navigate both realms. So I do appreciate you having me here.
I am excited that you're here as well. And you are in a position in the district government. I mean, first you're a rather young member of as a representative from the District of Columbia, a non-voting representative. But explain to our audiences, we tend to use, or have in the past used, the word shadow. And that's a term that so many like yourself who have been elected to office really refuse to use. And it makes sense. But explain your position on not really wanting to use that term, shadow representative, representing the District of Columbia in the U.S. Congress.
Yes, that's a great question. So unlike most other states, or every other state, this position doesn't have a congressional seat or a congressional vote. So I usually use the term shadow to designate the idea that we're not sworn into Congress like most other people are, whether they're in Maryland or Virginia, what have you. The reason why sometimes people in this role don't like using the term shadow is because, number one, it's not on the ballot. Our title is U.S. representative, but also it can minimize some of the work that we do. So we fight for DC statehood, and in this office, we actually not only talk about statehood, but we also demonstrate why we should become a state and try to mitigate some of the things that we lose as not living in a state, something like our criminal justice system, the way we use our money, the way our budget is being determined for us, and things like that.
And so in your position, one, you don't occupy, I think, an office on the Hill, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
But you still interact with folks on the Hill. Is that correct?
Yes, and we actually have a really good relationship with our Congresswoman Norton's office. A lot of issues that people bring to me, whether it's immigration issues or visa issues, we work closely with their office to make sure, we bring as much resources and value to DC residents.
Okay. And are you paid?
So I'm not paid in this role, but we do have a budget to carry forth our mission. And I'm a pharmacist by day, so I'm able to, figure out I'm able to take care of some things on my own end too.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I think, it would not hurt maybe for WIN TV in one segment, and I know we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Home Rule, to actually do a couple of civic shows, because people don't know how our government operates. I mean, on one hand, we're a city. On the other hand, sometimes we're treated as a state.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to get statehood.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the whole relationship that we have with Congress and the president, who has to sign off on our laws. And so many people don't understand that. So we're going to put that on the calendar, and we'll probably bring you back on to have that conversation.
Let's do it.
Great, great, great. So now, but we're here today to talk about this expungement event that's coming up. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to bring on Anthony Muhammad as well. But tell me, where did this idea come from? I know it's been done in the past, but how did you decide to pursue this?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we talk about statehood, oftentimes we discuss the voting rights component to it, but we don't discuss other things that impact DC residents, like our criminal justice system. Right now, lacking statehood, DC residents are living under a federalized criminal justice system where the folks in DC who are incarcerated often get shipped to other parts of the country because we don't have our own prison. Our process of removing such charges from our records is harder here in DC compared to our other states. So me being in DC, me living in Ward 8, a lot of my neighbors talked about their criminal records not allowing them to live the best lives that they can, whether it's working where they want to work, living the kind of housing they want to live in because of their record. So I collaborated with organizations like Time for Change, Christian Legal Aid, and DC Dream Center to bring a Know Your Rights campaign to some of our residents, as well as a record sealing process for folks who have committed non-felony charges to be able to get get themselves on that path to sealing their record and living the life that they deserve to live.
Thank you. And also, when you think about the numbers of folks in the District of Columbia, do you have any idea of how many people this could impact?
Absolutely. Hundreds, if not thousands, because when somebody goes to jail, their family goes with them. But if you seal somebody's record and now they own a business, they can hire so many people that have that experience or on their way to that experience. So touching one life impacts their whole entire community. And that's what we're really trying to do.
A while back, the district passed a law where employers could not, I think, maybe it was arrest records. I should know a little bit more about this, but I'm just trying to figure out, how that, if you have any idea, if residents are still being impacted by that, the fact that they should not be asked about criminal records, or that criminal records should not keep them from gaining employment. But it seems as though the expungement way is the better way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, a lot of people don't even try to seek those opportunities because maybe the door's been closed on them and they just want to go back to what they know, which oftentimes get them in more trouble. But we're not only trying to wipe off or clean a record, we're also trying to inspire some hope too. We're bringing folks who are impacted by the justice system that have turned their lives around successfully to be a resource, to be a mentor, to talk about positions and jobs that they've taken that allow them to get that second chance as well. So there may be folks that come tomorrow's clinic, they may not be eligible to get their record sealed right away, but we want to make sure even those folks leave with some tangibles that they can get them some positive outcomes.
Thank you. I'm going to bring on Anthony Muhammad as well, who's the president of the Metropolitan Police Department 7D Citizens Advisory Council, and who shared also because of the work that he's been doing for so many years in prison ministry. Anthony, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. A great opportunity to speak to your audience.
So why is it? How did you get involved? And we're going to give the details of the expungement clinic. I'm trying to have a conversation before we give them the meat, you know,
Okay.
to keep them hanging on, keep our viewers hanging on. But why is this event so important to you?
Because it will help a number, thousands, get out of being labeled as a ex-offender, and they will be able to get or apply for jobs that would normally deny them because of a record. And in Washington, 10 years, if you have been crime-free for 10 years, you do not even have to write it on any application that you have or are applying for a job for. So that in itself is a big help for those who are returning to Washington, D.C. And I've been involved in this for over 30 years, going in and out of prisons of the Mid-Atlantic region. This will enable millions to get the kind of jobs that they are looking for without worrying about someone saying you did this, that, or the other. And now, no, we cannot offer you any employment. We cannot offer you any housing because of your record. This will be clear that you won't even have to worry about it. And a lot of, even in this new criminal code, a lot of things will not even have to be explained after it is done.
Well, yeah, I mean the council overruled the mayor's the mayor
The mayor.
yesterday. Yeah, so we're having to see what happens with this criminal code. But you know, this is called an expungement clinic. So what does that mean? It sounds like there's a process here that you're going to explain to folks. Why is it called a clinic?
Yes, so this is going to be an ongoing series happening in different parts of the city. So although we call it expungement clinic, it's very interesting that DC doesn't allow expungements. And what expungements are is the complete wipe off of your record, off of crimes off your record. But we do sealing, which is essentially similar in terms of the effect of jobs won't be able to see what you've done in the past and you're able to start anew. But expungement is actually done in other states. The reason why I want to call it expungement clinic is because I want to make it aspirational. I want people to leave with the feeling that they could also have an impact on what happens in DC. I want the 10, 15, 20 years from now for us to have the equal rights and equal criminal justice systems compared to our brothers and sisters in other states. There's no reason why people in DC have to fight a different system, a federalized control system where our judges aren't elected by us, where our prosecutors are fairly appointed, and our criminal justice system isn't as progressive as the people of DC.
I want to ask Anthony. Because you are, you're deeply rooted in the community, particularly here in Ward 7 and 8. You know, how do you think this is gonna? Do you think that folks feel comfortable coming in and talking to folks, and that, and why should they show up?
Oh, of course. This Washington, D.C. actually has the better returning citizens program than anywhere else in the country. They are offered immediate resources when they leave the prisons. They can get housing, they can get financing from the social service programs that they have at the returning citizen office that they have on Martin Luther King Avenue. So it's important that they take things off of their record that will keep them from getting some of the employment that they would like to have.
Mm-hmm. And do you have you encountered individuals who have expressed, like the representative said, who've expressed, we need some help. We need something that's stronger for us in order to,
Oh
okay,
yes,
I mean, you want to
yes,
talk about that?
every day,
Mm-hmm.
every day. Um, it's misdemeanors also that are on records that keep them from getting jobs, and especially the sexual offenses that are on some of the records of the returning citizens. And some of them were not even legal to be done in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are taken off their records, that will allow them to work in a job that have children in it. So they wouldn't be penalized because they have this on their record. So it's very important to have their records expunged, or as our representative said, sealed.
Mm-hmm. Will there be attorneys there?
Yes,
Oh,
there's actually, we're collaborating with the Christian Legal Aid of DC to provide attorneys there, which is very critical because we're talking about legal advice. We're talking about the sealing process. It takes lawyers, it takes courts, it takes a lot of time. So thankfully, we've been able to secure their involvement and also make this at no cost.
that
Typically,
was
the
my next
sealing,
question. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, typically the sealing process can take up to $1,500 to $3,000. I don't know too many people who've experienced incarceration that could shell out that kind of money that could possibly not even turn out the way they want to. Because you don't pay $3,000 for successful interventions, you pay $3,000 for the actual program or for that legal advice. So having a low cost to no cost and being able to remove our barriers was very important for all of us to come together and make sure that was possible.
So our producer put up the flyer, which is good. So that's a hint that we need to tell people when, where, what time this is going to take
Right,
place. So
right.
let's get that announcement out there.
Absolutely. At 11 a.m. to 2 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to be on the Ward 8 campus at Time for Change. That's at 101 Xenia Street, Southwest, Suite 200 in the Ward 8. I'm very proud of the partnerships we've been able to have, not only with Anthony Muhammad, but mostly with Time for Change, Christian Legal Aid, the DC Dream Center, and the mayor's office is also behind this as well. Really want to make this an hour thing and not just this office.
Wonderful. So it's what are the times again?
11 a.m. to 2 o'clock.
Okay. Wonderful. At 101 Xenia Street in Southwest, on the southwest side of Ward 8 in
Still Ward
Southeast.
8
Right,
now. Don't let the
right.
Southwest quadrant fool you. It's still Ward 8.
Exactly. So
Right off of Martin Luther King Avenue.
so can anybody show up, and what do they need to bring with them?
So anybody can show up, but we do recommend people bring their records with them. What we're trying to do is have a Know Your Rights workshop and an intake program. As Anthony can contest, sealing your record is not a one-day process, but we have to have the people bring the material that they need to have so we can know if they're eligible or not. Some records may take years to be able to be sealed, so not everybody's in the same situation, but we do want to have people on the path to knowing what their right journey is.
Wonderful. And Anthony, what's been the consensus of folks that you've talked to out there? Are they looking forward to this?
Most definitely, most definitely. They are eager to come to have something done about their record.
Wonderful.
And
And
we're expecting a lot.
will there be opportunities after this? I know you mentioned that Representative Owalewa, that be other parts of the city, but if you live in this community or the Ward 8 community, can you only go to this, or can you go to any of the other expungement clinics that'll take place? Either one of you all can respond.
Well, you can go to all of them. The next month we're going to be in the DC Dream Center in Ward 7. But the reason why I wanted to be in Ward 8 and Ward 7 is because I've heard that there were expungement programs before, whether it's in UDC in Ward 3 or Georgetown or GW in Ward 2. But when you think about the most impacted communities, they're not in Ward 3. They're not in Ward 2. And some of these people in Ward 8 and Ward 7 don't know that it's in Ward 3 and Ward 2. So it's really important to bring these resources to where these people live.
Yes, yes, yes.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
Thank
We
you
hope that
for
you have a
having
big
us.
turnout tomorrow. And let me ask, is there a number that folks can call in case they want more information, in case they miss it tomorrow? Is there a way to contact either one of you?
Absolutely. There's an actual phone number on the flyer. If you want
Okay.
to reach me in the office, you can go on repoyedc.com, repoyedc.com. But more importantly, just checking in with you and Washington Informer, the heartbeat of Chocolate City. Telling our stories in our own voices is how you really know what's going on as well.
Wonderful. And Anthony, Muhammad, what about you?
My number is in the chat.
Okay. Well, our folks can't see the chat, so I don't think.
Oh,
Okay. So Sherry's gonna share it with them, and so that folks can reach out. Because in your position as the 70 Citizen Advisory Council member, there you or president, actually, I'm sure there are a lot of issues that
yes,
you can address that people just need to
a
know.
lot. Yes,
Right. We need to
yes.
let people know how to contact you. So we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
righty. Okie doke. Well, gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Get ready for
You
tomorrow,
do the
and I
same.
might see you there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. So we're going to now turn to, I call her our friend here at the Washington Informer and Washington Informer News, Anika Hobbs with Nubian Hueman. Nubian Hueman formerly was located in the Arts Center on Good Hope Road in Ward 8. And we'll talk to Anika about why she had to make that very difficult decision to close that venue. But yet, I mean, she's not closed. So that's the important thing, to know that she may have made that big decision. She didn't close, but she did relocate. So we're going to talk to her a little bit more about that. And for those of you all that are in business, it can be really difficult sometimes to, especially coming through this pandemic. And Nubian Hueman made it through the pandemic, but we discovered different ways of conducting business, and a lot of it has been sort of online shopping opportunities. People are not walking into stores or storefronts like they used to, and but yet Nika Hobbs and so many others have been really great at being able to continue to do business in other ways. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty here, so I'm just trying to kind of keep this ball rolling so we can get Anika Hobbs in and talk to her about how it is to kind of continue to stay strong despite what's going on. So we ready to bring her in?
Not yet.
Okay, we're going to bring her in a few more minutes, and hopefully this gives you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might or think of any questions that you might have for her that I don't ask. But I know that we would looking forward to talking to her and talking about some of the unique challenges of Black-owned businesses. So, okay, so we have lost her, and we're going to try to get her back. Yeah, we lost a connection there. I'm still here, so I'm just talking to you all and hoping that you all continue to watch us, because I think it's going to be a great conversation we're going to have with her. We want to know what are some of the next steps for Nubian Hueman. And we always like to bring our own, entrepreneurship is such a vital part of our community. And I think as a result of COVID, so many businesses were able to open. And Chevry, I think I see you here on the screen, and I'm getting some feedback from you. So if there's a way you can cut that, could mute that, that would be great. We have been doing this show for a little over almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in March. And I think this is the first time this has ever happened.
It is.
So, we just keep the ball rolling. And, I want to say, have you read this week's issue of the Washington Informer? I just want to put that up for you again. I think that our new editor, you all got a chance to meet Misha. There she is. I'm going to finish this. I think she did a wonderful job with our issue. But Anika, glad to have you. I think we can disconnect Chevy. There we are. Okay. All right. I tell you, there's many ways to manage these technical problems. We think they're the answer, and they end up being the disaster. But welcome to Win TV. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for supporting us through all of these years. It's been 9 years, and the Washington Informer was one of the first, if not the first publication that ever documented and talked about Nubian Human. So it's an honor to be here again with you.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm going to have to connect you to some of my, if you haven't met them already, our fellow publishers over there in Baltimore, you know, the Baltimore Afro and
Yes.
the Baltimore Times. And I just read that another new digital, Black-owned digital program has a digital news organization was established over there. I just read about her the other day.
Yes.
So, so how's it going? I know it's been a transition for you. I mean, I want to know really emotionally, how did that impact you to have to close your DC store?
The word that I've been using is bittersweet. It's been an emotional roller coaster. First things first, I do have to say, gratitude is something that I've definitely felt. Just, from the texts, the emails, the DMs, and all sorts of ways that folks get in contact with us, coming to the stores during the last months or so. It's definitely been a lot of gratitude, and just, thankful for that. Of course, my background is in brick and mortar, so I'm very much, a store person. So having to close down that location was pretty difficult, very very emotional for me. That's where we started, and I love Ward 8. I love DC. So it was bittersweet.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean, what was it? COVID related? Was it? I mean, the pandemic, just the impact of just not enough foot traffic.
Yeah, it was all those things. It was
Okay.
definitely the pandemic changed the shopping pattern of our customers. Folks aren't really, they are coming into stores, but they're shopping differently. Online is definitely taking over that, taking over the retail market. A lot of folks came to us because they loved being able to connect with community. That's what we're really about, is community. It's not just retail. This is an ecosystem, a global ecosystem, if you will. So COVID definitely, had impact on our supply chain. So about 50% of our inventory was from the continent or the diaspora outside of the United States. And that definitely hurt a lot of our smaller businesses. They weren't producing anymore, or they weren't able to produce as much or as often. Shipping was also an issue, inflation. And then just on a micro level, it was, the space that we were in just didn't have the traffic anymore. So
Mhm.
for us also, I was in the process of purchasing the building. And then once the pathway to ownership was no longer there, it really felt like it was time to move on to the next.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, that was a lesson learned a long time ago. I think, especially in DC, along the 8th Street corridor and other places where we found, once there was this re-emergence of retail and business and everything in the district, a lot of the businesses didn't own their buildings. And consequently, when the owners decided that they wanted to increase those rents because they could, a lot of our businesses ended up being displaced, not by choice. At least you were in a position to make a choice.
Right.
Many of them were forced to close, and that's the sad thing about that. And so, I mean, I'm sure there are lessons learned with your experience. What do you think, as it relates to the challenges of Black-owned businesses? What would you put on if you could list them, like the top 3 that business owners should really consider in this new um, way in which consumers interact with us?
Right. I would say number one is paying attention to your consumer. That is number one. what are their new habits, whether it's, taking your service or, coming into your space, whatever it is, however they interact with you. What are those new ways that they're looking for? For us, we knew that there was a change, and so we did, in the middle of last year, we did surveys and we did focus groups, just talking to our audience. Who Nubian Human was in 2013 when we opened our doors is completely different in 2022.
Mm.
So it was really important that we hear from our customers. So we took that year's time to really understand, what are they most attracted to? What is it that takes them to get out of their homes? What are they most interested in shopping and hearing from us? And so I think that's extremely important when you are in small business. If you are working directly, if you're doing direct to customer, you have a great opportunity to hear from them and pivot your business towards them. The second thing I would say is technology. This is the way of the world right now. Technology actually makes the world pretty small. So if there's any way that you can bring technology into your business, whether it's through your POS system, your email, SMS, your marketing, your anything that you do, your inventory, anything that can streamline your business, I think is something that's really important going forward. It's here, it's the way that we're working now. So making that pivot into really integrating technology into your business is something that's really important. And I would say the last thing is, have multiple streams of income. That's something that's so, like, we were lucky that we were doing that before the pandemic. But we had to really turn to not just events and retail, but what are some of the services that some of our clients and customers were looking for. So for example, we do have retail stores, we're online, we're in brick and mortar. We also did plenty of events like the Black Love Experience, which is our largest event, but we would do a series of smaller regular events like poetry events. But then also with that, we picked up doing like curating for other people's events for them. So those who
Hmm.
didn't want it, who wanted a vendor market, obviously we have an extensive list of vendors because of what we do. How can we take what we do and bring that into their business? We also started doing interior design. Folks would come into the store and always say, "Oh my goodness, I want my home to look like this." It just so happens I have a degree in interior architecture. My career is in visual merchandising, so I have a really great team that does it in interior design work. So we started doing folks' homes. So we had a few clients last year, so that brought in some revenue for us. So I would say always look at your business, not to make a bunch of other businesses, but look at your business and see how you can bring in revenue in different ways.
That's amazing. I mean, I think all of that is great advice. Even here at the Informer, we've done a couple things, but we've had to pivot as
Right.
well. And I think it creates more value. And that's what I would think for Nubian Human now. It's not just a store you go and buy a product, but there's a store that has services that you can offer to your consumers. Tell us about the Baltimore location, though. I haven't been there, so how is that going?
Yes, so that we opened in 2019 on 211 West Reed Street in Baltimore. It's been amazing. I think, community, it's the same thing as Southeast DC, where community is really important. My team there are just amazing folks who are integrated into the city either through Morgan or they're from Baltimore. So it's been really great to be there. Definitely a different consumer than what we're used to. But Black folks aren't a silo, so it's really great to expand and be in that space.
And as far as being able to continue your relationships with some of your vendors around the country, around the world, Africa and other places, has that gotten any better?
I would say yes and no. We've definitely been able to connect with new artists. And so those artists also that have, been able to weather through the pandemic, we've gotten a lot closer. So for example, we had Urban Zulu, which we had a partnership with, which is based in Johannesburg. So Poppy, the owner, has been able to come a couple times to the US, and we've been able to do launches, and we did Afro Punk together. So yeah, I think that there's been some ups and downs with it. There's been some tremendous losses of some brands that are amazing and unique, but there's been a lot of brands that have been able to kind of rise and push through as well.
So what's new for Nubian Human? What are some of your next steps? Because you've got a lot going, and I can't imagine you've got more on the horizon. But then knowing you, you probably do.
Yeah. Yes. I never really sit very still, but so we're excited because last year, I think it was right before the holidays, we launched our membership program. So we were able to take all of that data and insights that we had gotten, just knowing what our customers love and buy, also from those focus groups and surveys that we were able to do. We also traveled a lot of the country last year as well. So we did events in Chicago, New York, Philadelphia. So we were kind of all over the place, just gathering. And so we started a membership program, which you can start with just as little as $25, and it goes up depending on what you decide. But you get free shipping, which, if you know anything right now, shipping is increasing, so it's definitely
Yes.
a perk to get that. But you get free shipping, you customer service, discounts on your shopping every time you shop. We also offer a box. It's a Nubian Human box, so it's an experience box. So you may get products and a cooking lesson, or something that's just more than just getting products in the mail. But everything is Black owned, which is what we do. Black or brown owned, but all of our boxes have been Black owned products. So you'll get that every single month, something that you can experience or something that you can share with friends, share with family as well. We're also launching our app in February. So for Black History Month, we will be launching a Nubian Human app that's available at the Google Play Store and in Apple Store as well, the App Store. And we're working on bringing community into that. So it's not just a shopping experience, but it's also what Nubian Human is known for, which is exploring and learning new artists and connecting. So we're actually working on that now, which is really exciting, but it will be launching in February. And
You
then,
know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, of course, we're still working on expanding in the district. DC is our home. DC is where, just we have so much opportunity there, so much support there. So we are working on another space as well.
Wonderful. Well, one of the things that I just thought about, I don't know if this is already the case, but you have we're getting ready to go into the wedding season. I know a young couple who just bought their first home, and the husband is really, really focused on making sure that he has sort of a Black art and Afrocentric environment for even his space, his manhole, right? That's what I understand. And so, it sounds like, a gift certificate to Nubian Human would make a good gift. I don't know what you may offer or will be offering for those newlyweds or those new homeowners, but I'm certainly going to go search the site and see what I can find that may fit within what this couple wants. But it sounds like, are you offering anything like that?
Yes, we've always offered gift certificates and gift cards and things like that. So those are definitely there. We also have rotating art. So we just had Noelle RX, who is Candice Tavares. We had her exhibit up for the year. So the last few months of the year. So, coming to Nubian Human is always an exploration. So we definitely are doing that, and we will continue to do that as well.
Oh, wonderful. So anybody out there, some young folks, or not young folks, we're getting ready to do a story on a couple, we understand, in Baltimore, 93 and 94 years old. They got married a month ago.
Oh.
But so I don't mean necessarily young people, but marriages, weddings, folks buying their first homes, all of that. It's a good way to introduce them to, I think, the brand. And so hopefully that is another road to success for you. I really appreciate you coming on and talking really candidly about some of the challenges that you've had, but also the creative ways you've addressed them. So it's good. We don't get to talk about that all the time with our smaller businesses that become really big online, right?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. All of your support. Even when you come to the store, it's like a big deal. It's so exciting.
Well, I'm gonna make my way to Baltimore. I want to see what you gave them that we didn't get.
No. Please do.
You and I know you're coming back. All right, Anika, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
All right.
Good luck. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same.
All righty. We're it's always great talking to her and just talking to folks who really, small business owners. We need to talk to each other a little bit more, and I know there are organizations through which we can do that. But just having those off, line conversations, I think, are really, really great. Tim Gordon is with us now, and I want to make sure that we have a conversation with him because he's talking about one of my favorite, which is movies. I've found all kinds of ways to watch movies, but I'm glad that you're here. You're the executive director and founder of the Foundation for the Augmentation of African Americans in Film and creator of the Black Reel Awards. Now, wait a minute, let's go back to this. Augmentation of African Americans in Film. What does that mean, Tim?
Well, it's funny. When we initially launched the foundation back in 2004, it was called the Foundation for the Advancement of African American in Film. So after we went through about almost 10 years, we decided that we had advanced properly with our projects and what we'd been doing in film and how film had advanced. It was time now to start augmenting and adding pieces, which we've successfully done since 2015. So it, necessitated that we change the name at that point. So to kind of align with our new mission. So that's what the augmentation came from in FAF.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So now, since now we have the Black Reel Awards, and that's REEL,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
Reel, but Black Reel Awards. And you founded that as well.
Back in 2000. Prior to that, I was always a kid who grew up in loving movies like you as well. And I would always watch award shows. I'd watch the Oscars and the Golden Globes and some of these other high profile shows. And in the 80s and 90s, I would never see a lot of people who looked like you and I. We would be sporadically sprinkled. And kind of like maybe a decade later, it dawned on me. I said, somebody's got to do something about that. Because I knew we had the Image Awards, and I knew there was another show that was Hollywood-based called The Tree of Life that happened every year, the night before the Oscars, where, they would kind of take all of the Black folks who were nominated in a particular year and kind of have a celebration for them. But I knew we needed to have a show that sort of mirrored what the Academy Awards and Golden Globes were doing. And when I looked in the mirror and said that somebody needs to come up with that concept, I said, hey, I guess I'm that somebody. So in 1999, we worked on it. We launched it in 2000. And, Denise, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. When we first started, the renaissance of African-American film or Black film that exists now did not exist in 2000.
Yeah.
So the first 4 or 5 years, it was rocky, and people would always come to us and go, well, why are you guys honoring these films? And I'm like, these are the films that are out right now. I mean, that's all we can do is honor what's there.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last decade, it has grown leaps and bounds, and it has grown so much so that initially we combined our film and television awards, sort of like the Golden Globes. And a member of my team, Cordell Martin, who's now our nominating chair, came to me and said, I think the time has come that we need to spin off and create another show that's sort of like the Emmys for African Americans. So the Black Reel Television Awards were born in 2017. So we're going into our 7th year of that show and our 23rd year of the Black Reel Awards.
Wow. So, I mean, there's so much I could really ask you about because you're talking about what, the kinds of films that were available then. Now it seems like, is it becoming more difficult? I mean, how do you determine what's a Black film? Let me ask that question.
Well, I think one of the first things we thought of was what the criteria would be, where we wanted to make sure we had something that was very static so that, we wouldn't waver like a branch in the wind every year. So pretty much our definition is any film that is produced, directed, executive produced, written, or coming from what we call a Black POV, a Black point of view. So for instance, a film like Ray, that was directed by Taylor Hackford about 15 or 20 years ago, was a film that would count as a film that we would honor, despite the fact that the director was white, but everybody else behind the camera, or there were some key people, including Ray Charles when he was still alive, who were a producer on that film. So it doesn't necessarily necessitate that every film has to be directed by an African-American, but we believe in participation in what we call above and below the line. You know, actors on screen, African-Americans or people of color behind the scene.
Interesting. Okay. Because, you know, a lot of times people look at Black films and they say, oh, you know, this white person did this or whatever, and it's really not a Black film. But that's why I thought it would be interesting to know how you all define a Black film. And then also, you know, I'm finding now, I don't know the term, so you have to help me out here. But, you know, we've gone from that, which everybody knew was Blaxploitation films once upon a time, right? So now it seems like we're seeing a lot of films based off of true life stories, right? And
you're talking about biopics.
Biopics, exactly.
Right.
I mean, where are we right now with the categories of films that you all recognize in awards? What are those categories?
Well,
and how have they changed?
Are you specifically talking about genres, right? So
exactly, right.
I have a team of people who at the beginning of every year kind of, you know, we look through the schedule of films that are coming that year, and it's always not necessarily concrete because, for an example, I'm at Sundance right now. There may be some films that will play at a festival like a Sundance or a Toronto later on in the year or any other major festival that can be added to what the major studios are doing, right? So you start off looking at what the studios have on their slate for any given year. And then throughout the year, you tweak, you look at, you know, as I said, we find other work that's out there. But that's sort of how, like, the building of what we're going to, that the films that are going to be eligible later in the year, that process starts like now, that we are looking at films, whether it's directors, whether it's actors, whether it's, as we talked about earlier, who's producing films this year, what films are coming out. So it's a very long process, and we do it both for film and television. But to answer your other question about when you were talking about biopics, you have some of those coming out this year. Later on this year, there's a Shirley Chisholm biopic called Shirley coming from Netflix that Regina King's going to star in. You also have the Bayard Rustin story, which Coleman Domingo is going to be playing the title character. I'm sure there's several other films that off the top of my head I can't really figure out because there's so much work, not just in films now, but we also look at the streaming platforms of what's coming from Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and some of these other platforms.
It's you know, it's like, you know, the well is nowhere close to running dry for films that are for us and about us, and that's fantastic. When is the Black Reel Awards? When is that going to take place and where?
The 23rd annual Black Reel Awards will take place virtually on Monday, February the 6th at 8 p.m. For people who want to watch this show, which is going to be very, very, we're in the process because I'm behind the scenes of knowing what's coming. It's going to be a big show that's going to be broadcast on Black Reel Awards TV, right, at 8 p.m. This year, we're going to be honoring all women. So we have 4 special honorees that we have within our show every year. We have one award that honors Oscar Micheaux, Deborah Martin Chase, the producer who worked with Whitney Houston and Denzel Washington's production companies. She's going to be recipient of the Oscar Micheaux the Oscar Micheaux Memorial Award this year. Angela Bassett will be honored with the Sidney Poitier Trailblazer Award this year. Kerry Washington is going to be the recipient of the Ruby D Humanitarian Award. And producer Effie Brown, whose film The Inspection is a nominee this year, is going to be the recipient of the Vanguard Award for Executive of the Year.
It sounds really, really exciting. This is February the 6th, you said, right?
Monday, February the 6th.
Monday, and how can folks watch it again?
They can go to Black Reel Awards, and that's REEL awards.com. And the show will launch at 8 p.m. We'll probably have a pre-show that'll happen an hour before. So it's going to be an exciting night. There are lots of nominees. I think both Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, as well as The Woman King, each are nominated for 14 awards. I know Till is nominated for 11. And I'm leaving another. Oh, and Devotion, I think is nominated for 10 Black Reel Awards this year. And also, before I get out of here, Denise, we're also unveiling the new statuette, which we unveiled a new statuette last year, which was the statuette that all of the winners get. But now we've unveiled recently in the trades a picture of the special honoree statuette, which comes with a platinum base. So it's very beautiful piece of art that we hope that these winners and honorees get to put in their homes and present. So we are very, very excited about the direction that the Black Reel Awards continues to kind of surge upward.
Tim, how does the voting take place? I mean, how you mentioned the nominations, but who votes?
Good question. If you go to blackreelawards.com, there's a section on our site called our Black Reel Award Voting Academy. We have film critics, actors, producers. So I guess the easiest way to explain it is that there are members on our voting academy who are members of the nation's largest critics association, which is the Critics' Choice Association. We have Oscar winners, we have Grammy Award winners, we have Tony Award winner, we have Image Award winners. We have a really what I call serious and very credible list of voters that we make public. So there's no kind of, I don't know how does it happen? Who are these people? These people. If you go to the site, you'll see what I'm talking about.
And how's sponsorship been?
Sponsorship is on the uptick. I know this year we've added a couple. We actually had Adobe Radio Network as a sponsor last year. We've just brought in a company from Tanzania that is very excited to partner and kind of expand our reach over into East Africa. So we're very excited about that. And we're talking to some other sponsors that those announcements will be forthcoming, which probably won't impact this year's awards, but we're looking at 2024 and beyond.
And is that, mentioning East Africa, are there international films as well that are considered? We
have several international categories, including Best International Film. And the other shocking thing to me, which we didn't kind of anticipate, but sort of happened, we had viewership last year for our show in over 18 countries outside of the United States.
Wow.
And we anticipate that will continue to grow as well, because Black culture is not just here in America, but Black culture is around the globe. And that's what I think people are picking up on, the fact that we're an organization that has been honoring African Americans and people of color. And as I told you earlier, I think we're on the upswing, and our audience outside of the United States, as I said, continues to reflect that, and we continue to grow.
So I know you got to go because you have movies to go watch. So I'm not going to hold you much longer.
I got time for you.
Oh, good. I appreciate that, because the other thing is that, this is my cell phone, right? And so a lot of people now can actually create films, right? Just on these devices, little independent films. How do are they recognized? I don't mean anybody, you know what I'm saying, but smaller, independent, local filmmakers who are aspiring to the big screen. Do you recognize any of them, or any of them will any of them be recognized at the Reel Awards?
Well,
what is the size of your
No, I was going to say we have a category for independent films, but a lot of the independent films are films that are either, that's the best way to explain it, that, for instance, The Inspection, which is nominated this year, is looked at as an independent film because of a certain budget, which we've never really determined what the budget, but we sort of know that this is the difference between a big, huge studio film and an independent film. The other mechanism that we use to honor independent film is through our film festival that is going into its 4th year. That's here in Washington, D.C. This year's Light Reel Award Film Festival will be the 7th through the 10th of June And we anticipate that we will have it in the Union Market area. You and I talked a little bit about this before the show.
Right.
But we are very excited about the possibilities of using and leveraging the celebrity that we have at the Black Reel Awards and bringing some of that aspect to our film festival here locally. We have some fine film festivals in the city, and I happen to know several of the festival directors personally, but I just have a different vision and more in alignment with what we're doing with the Black Reel Awards that I want to bring to the city as it relates to a film festival in town. You know, I'm out here at Sundance. I'm inspired by that. I go out to the Toronto International Film Fest. I'm inspired by that. So I want to get the community very excited about seeing films that are going to be BIPOC films, because our vision there is that we're honoring films of people of color. So that's kind of going to be the focus of the Light Reel Film Festival.
So if I produce the film, let's say it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever, a short film, and something I might want to enter into, you know, not the Black Reel Awards, but the what you're going to do in June, the Light Reel event. How would I do that?
We have a site on Film Freeway. If you go to Film Freeway and search for the Light Reel Film Festival, it has all our information. We're taking submissions through March. So submissions are going on right now for that festival, and all the information you need in order to get your film uploaded, to get it submitted. We have it all right there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anything else you want to share with us, Tim? Because all of this sounds good. I'm getting ready to start making my popcorn now, so I can sneak it into the theater and start watching.
I think the only thing I would say is that the Black Reel Awards is kind of, you know, we talk about a passion project. That's something that I started, and as I told you at the beginning or the onset of this conversation, I remember vividly what it was like in the early years, and to know where we have come, how far we've come. You know, since we're doing a virtual show, you know, we have people that record with us virtually, and there are times that I almost have to pinch myself and go, man, that person's a part of our show now. So, you know, we had Lawrence Fishburne we honored last year, Halle Berry, Nate Moore, the highest ranking African-American at Marvel, Chaz Ebert and Suzanne DePass all were honored last year.
Wow. Wow, nice.
So again, like I said, I'm just very thankful. I'm very grateful for the support that the community has given us, as well as the divine intervention from the good Lord, because, you know, I just had a vision. I'm just following the plan.
Well, I want to say in closing, which has maybe a lot to do with this or nothing to do with this, but you said proudly a little bit earlier that you're a Firebird.
UDC. I walk those hallways. You can be great if you were at UDC.
That's right. That's right. I just want to throw that in there. We just honored the president, Ron Mason, on Monday. I know he's retiring, but I think that's one of the things he's tried to say, that there's greatness that comes out of the University of the District of Columbia, and you fit that category. So I just wanted to get that in before we said goodbye.
Well, Denise, I appreciate you and the support that through the years. It's funny, I was looking at a show that we had at the French Embassy, and I said, "Oh, there's Denise." I've seen some pictures. You were there.
All right.
So,
good. Yeah.
Yes, you were. So, as I said, thank you. You've always been a supporter, and I'm very proud of what you've built and the family your family has built. So I'm just honored to be here with you this afternoon.
Well, likewise, you keep the dream alive. So thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy Utah, enjoy, you know, the film festival where you are. And we look forward to seeing and coming to the event in June. So we're going to keep our viewers informed about that as well. You bring in greatness to DC. So we appreciate it.
Denise, thank you. You
All
enjoy
righty.
your day.
Okay. Stay warm. Well, that's it. That brings us to the end of today's Win TV. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you've actually seen a place or heard us talk to someone who might not only inspire you, but if you've already gone down that track, if you created a small film that you think might be worthy of Tim's program there, the awards program that's coming up, or the film festival that's coming in June. If you're a creator and you feel like there's something that you could take to Nubian Hueman, and you want to reach out to Anika Hobbs, hope you'll be able to do that. And if you know someone who needs to get that record expunged, that you will turn out at the expungement clinic on tomorrow, or at least reach out to Anthony Muhammad and our representative, well, we're not supposed to say shadow, but Representative Olawoye. We hope that that is something that has been helpful and useful to you. I am going to say farewell. Hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all same place, same time next week. Have a good one. So long.